This picture is going viral with Bria Hartley with the sinister grin, right? This malevolent look that's on her face right now. Clearly smiling after injuring Sophie Cunningham, man.
It was a moment that left fans across the country gasping. Bria Hartley, a star guard known for her aggressive style, collided with Sophie Cunningham in what many are calling one of the most controversial plays of the season. On the surface, it looked like a brutal accident, a fast-paced game, a hard drive to the basket, and an unfortunate collision. But there was something in Hartley's demeanor that made viewers question everything. As Cunningham limped off the court clutching her knee, Hartley was caught smiling, sparking outrage and debate across social media. Was it just the adrenaline of the game, a fleeting reaction, or was there something more sinister at play? Fans and analysts alike immediately began dissecting every second of the footage, replaying the collision over and over. The question hung in the air: was Sophie Cunningham simply the victim of a reckless play, or had Hartley crossed a line that no one should ever cross on the court? In the days that followed, this single play would explode into a wider conversation about sportsmanship, accountability, and the WNBA's responsibility to its players. The moment wasn't just about an injury, it became a defining controversy that left viewers wondering whether Hartley was a repeat offender, or if this was just an isolated incident. By the end of this video, we're going to break down every aspect of that play, the fallout, and what it means for the league moving forward. The play began like so many others in professional basketball: a fast drive to the basket, players weaving through traffic, and the crowd on edge. But within seconds, it escalated into something far more serious. Bria Hartley, carrying her momentum forward, collided directly into Sophie Cunningham's right leg, sending Cunningham crashing to the floor in immediate pain. The crowd went silent. Trainers rushed to the scene, but the damage was already evident. Cunningham clutched her knee, grimacing in agony, unable to continue. Slow-motion replays painted a vivid picture of the impact, showing exactly how severe the collision was and leaving no doubt about the intensity of the moment. To fans watching at home, it wasn't just an injury. It felt like an assault. Every movement, every facial expression told a story of frustration, pain, and disbelief. Social media erupted instantly, with fans questioning whether this was a reckless accident or something far more calculated. The tension was palpable, and viewers everywhere were left wondering what would happen next. The immediate aftermath set the tone for what would become a heated debate about player safety, accountability, and the role of referees in preventing incidents like this. And while the physical collision was shocking, what happened immediately after would become the defining element of the controversy. As Cunningham was helped off the court, the reactions were swift and visceral. Fans in the arena shouted in outrage, commentators struggled to maintain composure, and social media exploded with speculation. What made the incident even more shocking was the apparent lack of intervention from the referees. No stoppage, no review, just a continuation of the game, as if nothing had happened. This absence of official oversight only fueled the controversy, leading many to question the integrity of the officiating. Meanwhile, Hartley's reaction didn't help matters. The moment she was caught on camera, smiling while Cunningham was being helped off the court, became a symbol of what some viewed as a deeper problem. Was Hartley truly indifferent to the injury she caused? Or was this simply a misplaced response to the intensity of the moment? Fans couldn't decide, and that ambiguity created a firestorm of discussion. Some believed it was a fleeting moment of adrenaline-fueled reaction. Others saw it as an undeniable sign of a player who felt untouchable. In the hours that followed, videos of the collision and Hartley's expression went viral, prompting debates not just about the incident itself, but also about broader questions of sportsmanship and accountability in the WNBA. And yet, the story was far from over. This was just the beginning of a controversy that would engulf fans, families, and analysts alike. To fully understand why Hartley's collision with Cunningham caused such a stir, it's important to look at her history on the court. This wasn't an isolated incident. Earlier in the season, Hartley had been involved in several controversial moments, from yanking Angel Reese's hair during a rebound to scuffles with Rebecca Allen that resulted in her ejection. Each incident added to a growing perception that Hartley's aggressive style sometimes crossed a line. Fans and commentators began connecting the dots, painting a picture of a player who wasn't just reckless, but potentially dangerous. Her history suggested a pattern of behavior, one that made the collision with Cunningham feel like more than just a single moment of misjudgment. It was the latest chapter in a story that already had troubling undertones, and social media was quick to point this out. Replays of past incidents were shared alongside the Cunningham collision, framing it within a context that made Hartley's actions harder to dismiss. People started asking themselves whether the WNBA had a responsibility to intervene sooner, whether referees and league officials had been too lenient, and whether Hartley herself was aware of the growing perception of her as a dirty player. This context added fuel to the fire, transforming the collision from a game-time accident into a wider discussion about behavior, accountability, and consequences within professional sports. Perhaps the most talked about aspect of the incident was Hartley's reaction immediately after the collision. Caught on camera, she appeared to smirk as Cunningham was being helped off the court, a brief expression that sparked months of debate. Fans took it as a cruel, heartless response, while others argued that it could be nothing more than adrenaline, relief, or even nervousness. Regardless of intent, the optics were undeniable. Social media blew up, dissecting every frame of the footage, with hashtags trending in minutes and endless theories being shared about Hartley's state of mind. Some saw the smirk as confirmation of Hartley's reputation as a repeat offender, while others tried to defend her, arguing that judging a player in the heat of competition was unfair. But for most viewers, it was impossible to ignore the combination of the collision, the injury, and the apparent lack of remorse. The smirk became a symbol, and not just of Hartley herself, but of larger concerns about accountability, sportsmanship, and the culture surrounding professional women's basketball. As discussions escalated, the question became less about the collision and more about Hartley's character. Had she crossed a line that fans and analysts felt should never be crossed? Cunningham's family quickly added their voices to the conversation, expressing frustration not only at the incident itself, but also at the WNBA's handling of it. Her sister and mother were particularly vocal, criticizing referees for failing to intervene and pointing out a history of the league penalizing outspoken players while officials go unaccountable. Their perspective added a deeply personal dimension to the controversy, reminding fans that these incidents have real-life consequences for players and their families. Meanwhile, the league's response, or lack thereof, sparked further debate. Speculation about potential suspensions circulated, but the WNBA had yet to take any formal action. Beyond the realm of sports reporting and into a broader conversation about fairness, safety, and respect on the court. For the Indiana Fever, Cunningham's injury was more than a headline. It was a devastating blow to their season. As one of the team's primary leaders and scorers, her absence left a gaping hole in both the roster and the team's morale. The Fever had already been battling injuries to key players like Caitlin Clark and Ari McDonald, and losing Cunningham meant that remaining players would have to shoulder an even heavier burden. Analysts immediately began projecting how this would impact the team's playoff chances, with many concluding that a deep run was now highly unlikely. On the court, teammates were forced to adjust, relying on players who were untested in leadership roles. Every possession became critical, every defensive rotation under pressure, and fans were left questioning how a team could survive such a setback. The emotional toll was palpable, not just for players, but for coaches, fans, and anyone invested in the Fever's success. Cunningham's role had been more than athletic. She had been a linchpin in the team's chemistry, someone who motivated others, controlled the pace, and brought stability to a fragile lineup. Without her, the Fever faced a daunting uphill battle, and every game from that point forward carried added weight. Experts and fans alike began dissecting the psychology behind Hartley's actions and her reaction to the collision. Was her smirk a moment of adrenaline, misplaced frustration, or something deeper, an expression of someone who felt untouchable? Analysts compared her behavior to past incidents, examining patterns and drawing conclusions about her on-court persona. Fans connected the dots, creating timelines of her aggressive plays and controversial reactions. Some argued that Hartley was simply a highly competitive player, one whose intensity sometimes spilled over into questionable behavior. Others felt her actions were emblematic of a larger problem, a lack of accountability within the league, where repeat offenders rarely face meaningful consequences. Social media amplified these perspectives, turning analysis into debate and debate into outrage. The scrutiny didn't stop with Hartley. It extended to the referees, the league, and the culture surrounding professional women's basketball. Every video clip, every tweet, every expert opinion added another layer to the story, making it impossible to view the incident in isolation. The conversation shifted from a single play to a broader examination of ethics, responsibility, and the unseen pressures of competing at the highest level. As days turned into weeks, the Hartley-Cunningham incident continued to reverberate. Fans, pundits, and players questioned whether the WNBA would take decisive action or once again let a controversial moment slide. Discussions about suspensions, fines, and league accountability dominated headlines. But beyond disciplinary measures, the incident raised bigger questions. How much responsibility does the league have to protect players? How can it prevent dangerous behavior while maintaining competitive intensity? And perhaps most importantly, what does this say about the culture of professional women's basketball? Cunningham's injury wasn't just a personal setback. It was a catalyst for a larger conversation about safety, fairness, and respect. For the Fever, the collision had immediate consequences, but for the league as a whole, it became a defining moment in shaping public perception and setting standards for player conduct. The questions lingered. Would Hartley face consequences? Would the WNBA implement stronger safety measures? Or would this moment fade, remembered only as a controversial chapter in an otherwise ordinary season? The answers remain uncertain, but one thing is clear. This incident will be studied, debated, and referenced for years to come. The collision between Bria Hartley and Sophie Cunningham is more than a single controversial play. It's a story about accountability, character, and the pressures of professional sports. It's a reminder that every action on the court carries weight, and every reaction can be dissected by fans, analysts, and the media. Hartley's smirk, Cunningham's injury, the lack of referee intervention, and the league's slow response have combined to create a defining moment for the WNBA. But beyond the headlines and the social media debates, this story asks something deeper. How do we balance competition with safety? How do we ensure that players are held accountable while preserving the intensity and unpredictability that make sports so compelling? And finally, what steps will the league take to protect its athletes and maintain its credibility moving forward? Fans, experts, and players are still asking these questions, and the answers will shape the future of the WNBA. In the end, the Hartley-Cunningham incident isn't just a controversy. It's a case study in ethics, sportsmanship, and the human drama that unfolds every time the ball hits the court.